All righty. What is good, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? It, of course, is your host, Vince, here. As you guys see in the title, OKC Thunder bounce back game two, win over Pacers. And a lot of you guys called this one. I got to give it to you. We're going to go over a lot of different factors in how the Pacers won, or been a part of how the Pacers lost, how the Thunder won. But before we do, of course, if you guys are not already, hit that subscribe button down below. If you enjoy the video, hit a like, share with your friends. As always, we always appreciate the support. For this one, we're going to get right into it, you guys. As you can see on the header of today's episode, OKC responds to tie the series 1-1 with Pacers in 123 to 107 win. Now, a lot of you guys did call this game, right? A lot of you guys said a lot of valid points to start out. For one, Russ on the episode was able to bring and shed light to a very good um, stat that, for one, the Thunder had not lost back-to-back games all season long, right? We've known their dominance, but we didn't know, for some of us at least, we didn't know that level of dominance they've had in the regular season all the way to the postseason. They've never lost back-to-back games. It looks like that streak does continue going into game three in Indiana. Hey, bud, we got a guess here, it looks like. Um, but the reason why, for example, I had thought that the Pacers might actually have a solid chance to maybe get greedy and get two games in a row were a couple of things. Now, I did talk about what it would take for the Pacers to win, but we didn't get a chance to really talk about what it took for the Thunder to win, right? Because not a lot of people really think about that or care about that, I guess. I guess they expect the Thunder to just be so consistently dominant that the thought of them losing just doesn't make sense. And of course, for game two, you guys do look like geniuses, so I can't even hate on that. But I'm going to talk about specifically what we should have talked about in our last episode. If you guys didn't get to check it out right now. Definitely some good content there. I did go into depth in talking about what it took for the Pacers to win. But we're going to talk a little bit about what it took for the Thunder to win and then see how they lined up as far as this game as I pull up the stats. So the first thing that we had brought to our attention is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, right? Obviously, he is the MVP. Obviously, he had a great game. I think he had scored 38 points, was 14 for 30, and then I think like 7 for 8 from the free throw line. But the biggest story of that was the fourth quarter, right? They had about a 15-point lead in the fourth quarter and then completely dropped the ball, lost it, unfortunately. And then that's when the Pacers were able to rally to come back and win that game. Now, one of the things that we wanted to kind of dive a little bit deeper as far as SGA and his play to see what it would take for the Thunder to bounce back and get game two like they did was seeing him play a little bit more balance between scoring and facilitating. One of the biggest things that most people may have not noticed or paid attention as far as how that game was going was it wasn't just that they lost that 15-point lead, but it was how they were scoring. A lot of their scoring came from isolation, one on one, and then a little bit of foul baiting, attempts towards the end as the Pacers were going on their run from SGA. However, um, the biggest difference was the team overall, right? Now, the bench was kind of nullified, right? So when you look at the Pacers bench scoring compared to the Thunder bench scoring, the Pacers may have had a slight notch over them, mainly because they allowed Obi Toppin to go off the way he did, specifically later in the second half, where he had scored 17 points, and I believe he was like 5 for 6 from three. Now, easily, we can't say that we're always going to see an Obi Toppin game like that, as we're going to see in the box score. He definitely didn't have that kind of game or performance this round. Um, but on OKC's assist, I would say, was far, far less than I think you expected. OKC only had 13 assists in game one, but for game two, they had 25, right? The other biggest difference that we talked about, the cool thing with both of these teams is their depth. We know a lot about their starting fives, but it's their depth that makes these two teams very dangerous. It's what's allowed them both to make it all the way to the NBA Finals. And so, as you're talking about the depth, when we look into OKC's bench scoring compared to the Pacers' bench scoring from this game, it wasn't even close. I do know that, the Pacers bench started scoring a little bit late, so the numbers are not going to be truly valued as it was throughout the game, but OKC's bench was plus 14 in this game. They were up 48-34 by the end of the game when the buzzer hit 0, and that right there is majority in the bulk of the OKC's 16-point win. 14 of those 16 points that they were up by to end this game came from the bench, and really, it was throughout the game that you could see that OKC's bench was actually really doing good, specifically a couple of different players, which again, like I said, we're going to go into the box score to really kind of go into depth as far as what happened to lead to this. But the same way that I was gloating in game one, I have to give a shout out, unfortunately, to Russ and Kinsey. You were right. You were right. You were right all along. You did say specifically that you had OKC handily, right? I said, well, when you say handily, what are we talking about? Like 20, 30, 40 points, right? Because we've seen OKC do that. He said, nah, I see them like plus 15. I'm like, okay. And I actually kind of believe that. But for some reason, something told me, you know what? Give the Pacers a chance. Nobody wants to give them a chance at all. And either way, think of it this way, you guys. It's not a loss really at all for me. The Lakers are out of the playoffs. So regardless, I already lost. At this point, I either look like a genius when I'm right, or I'm not going to look like a sore loser when I'm wrong. I'm going to give credit where credit's due. I did not take OKC plus 15 in this case for sure, but they did. So round of applause to Russ and Kinsey. I don't know if you guys are watching live right now, but you were right. I'll give you that. So, what we want to do real quick is talk about how exactly did the Thunder win and how did the Pacers lose? Okay, now this is where we are going to kind of dive a little bit more into the actual box sheet here. We're going to start with the team stats real quick, just so you can see really any differences that we notices, and then we're going to go right into the box score here. So, the team stats here, beg my pardon. If you take a look at the shot attempts are dead even, 82-82, right? Which is kind of odd because if you look at the rebounding, OKC was actually a +8 in this game. Now, for the Pacers, one of the things that I had talked about in order for the Pacers to win game 2 and be greedy, like they talked about, is they have to out rebound the Thunder. Now, the Pacers are not a crazy rebounding team as it is. We all know this. If you don't, you'll know that pretty soon, especially with an example like this. But to get out rebounded the way that they did in certain sequences like they did, it really felt like a lot of the rebounds that they didn't get, that OKC did get, were more hustle plays. You almost felt in some ways from the very beginning that OKC clearly was playing a little bit more in desperation mode. And the Pacers were kind of playing more like, hey, we already got one on the road and we're going to be going back home with home court advantage regardless. So we'll just see if we can get another one. And that's not the right approach to have. Now, again, that might be a stretch, but at the same time, maybe not. You tell me if you guys watch the game, if you feel like maybe the Pacers were kind of sleepwalking out there, especially to start the game compared to like the second half, because I've noticed a theme where like the first half, they're kind of aloof. And then the second half, they kind of turn it up a little bit. You're not going to be able to win many games, let alone win a championship over the Oklahoma City Thunder playing that kind of style of basketball for 48 minutes. It may get you a couple wins here and there that you stole, not fully earned, but you stole, right? But it's not sustainable if you're talking about championship level basketball. All right, then we go into the free throws. One thing's for sure is during the game, the free throws were kind of the physicality, I would say, was very clearly different this game compared to game one. Now, game one, there's a lot of physicality being allowed. There was a lot of no calls on both sides being allowed. And for basketball fans like myself, I was cool with it. I want to see high level basketball at its finest. And sometimes you're not going to get that if you're constantly blowing the whistle at every opportunity you see a little bit of contact. There was a moment or two that I just didn't really like watching the game, and it came from both sides, not just the Pacers fouling OKC, even OKC with the Pacers. I was kind of like, maybe we don't blow the whistle on that. Maybe we just kind of let it go and just see what happens, right? Unfortunately, I do feel like at one point it kind of stopped the Pacers' aggressiveness, especially because they are on the road. Once they started racking up consistent fouls, they put OKC in the bonus very early in the third quarter, and that allowed them to kind of really set their defense up, which you don't want on the other end. But then it also gave you free OKC free buckets. As you can see, they capitalized on them. They only missed 4 free throw attempts, and they shot 88% compared to the Pacers, who missed 7 free throw attempts and only shot 73%. And then again, like we said, the rebounding is what it is. The assist, like I said, is the biggest change. SGA had got his, he got his 34 points, or beg your pardon, his 38 points, but he shot 30 attempts to get it. He didn't have many assists. He didn't really get the others involved. And it was kind of one of those situations where, yes, he had a great offensive game, but as the leader, as the MVP, you wanted to see him do a little bit better when it comes to getting the others involved, like Chet, who had only 6 points, and then Jalen Williams, who, contributed, but not as effective as we know he's capable of. Um, and then another interesting thing I noticed is, like I said, both these two teams, they love getting up and down. But if you look at the fast break points, it's only 9-4. So both teams actually did a great job defensively when it comes to fast break points overall. Both of them didn't even crack double digits. However, points in the paint. OKC dominated that, and it wasn't even really close. I know that they were only dominated like +8 in that category, but for the most part of the game, you felt their presence a lot more offensively in the paint than you could see with the Pacers. Every time the Pacers are trying to dive into the paint, you would see a swarm of OKC defenders, from Lou Dort to SGA to Aaron Wiggins to Alex Caruso and so on and so forth. Even Chet, even Hardenstein, they were all packing the paint. And there was a couple of moments where it literally made the Pacers so frustrated as you're watching the game. Yes, they did end up with 27 assists, but OKC really forced them to work hard for every assist that they got, especially the ones in the paint. Because if you followed that game, the game plan I felt like was, if anything, no points in the paint. Don't let them dominate, because they know that they have a mismatch if they really took advantage of it, or at least if the players took advantage of it with Pascal, with Obi, shoot, even Miles Turner. He has a favorable matchup as well if he just played a certain way that he just doesn't play consistently. Um, but at the same time, points in the paint, big indicator for sure. And that's what led to OKC being up as much by 23. I also want to note the biggest difference, too, with this game compared to game one was the fact that when you notice in the fourth and the third, Pacers were kind of chipping and chipping and chipping away at the lead. OKC's response was not good, right? Like, they basically were taking ill-advised shots, turning the ball over as well, forcing the occasion. In this particular game, you definitely saw a much bigger difference. In fact, that was another key thing that I looked for as far as what it would take in order for the Thunder to come away with this game, is you guys have to improve not only the half court offensive issues, but you also had to improve with closing out execution. So, of course, game one slipped away late. The Thunder must learn from executing better in the clutch, which they definitely did in this game. As you can see, even though the Pacers went on a run in that third and fourth quarter, they scored 33 points each in the third and the fourth. OKC matched them with 34 and 30. And by that time, they had such a favorable lead in that first half. As long as you just kept going and going and going with the Pacers, you're going to win. And that's exactly what happened. I thought that they definitely learned from their mistakes in game one, and they definitely got their results in game two, obviously. Another thing that we'd like to talk about is,
Yeah, Vince. What do we have to talk about?
oh my gosh, don't you dare tell me this guy Russ. Ah, this boy Russ is here.
What did I say just a few
Hey,
hours
hey,
ago?
hey, hey, hold up now. Hold on, cuz. I already shouted out you and your fiance, okay? I'm gonna do this one last time. Is she there? Is she there?
Um, yeah, but yeah, she's
All right.
here. Kenzie, put
Whenever
on
she
some
gets there,
pants.
tell her Vince did his due, okay? I'm not a sore loser. When I'm wrong, I'm wrong. When I'm right, I'm obnoxious about it.
Hold up. Yep. I mean, hey, I'll let here we go. Can you hear Vince? Hello? Vince, say
Yeah.
something. All right. Vince, she can hear you now.
I mean, you want to come to the camera, Kens? I put it on the screen for all the viewers to see.
You're on camera.
Russ and Kenzie were
Why?
right.
Because I'm correct?
Can you read? Can you read? Russ and Kenzie were right. OKC
Okay.
dominated Pacers plus 15. Y'all should have gambled on that one. I'm not a fan of gambling. Y'all should have gambled on this one. I'll tell you that much.
I mean, the thing is it's not like this was rocket science. We took this. Everybody had assumed this was gonna happen by facts. Just previous facts. The thing is exactly. See,
Did you really think the
Wait,
Pacers
what'd you say?
win in a row?
Hold on. What'd you say, Kenzie?
I said you just gotta think.
did you
You
really
gotta use logic.
did you really think the Pacers were gonna win 2 in a row? I mean, yes.
I mean, honestly.
Okay, here's my defense. I laid out 6 solid things the Pacers needed to do in order to win. Again, if you guys did not check out that video before the game, I encourage you to go watch it because I think I hit the nail exactly where I needed. They did not execute the way that I had predicted they needed to in order to get the win. And so
Yes.
because of that, they didn't get the win. So
All right.
I'm right even when I'm wrong, just so you guys know. Okay. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, okay. I gotta say something then, really quick, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
'Cause
What you got?
This is my segment right here. This is all I'm ever gonna accomplish in life, right in front of you, right here. All right. So, what up, baby? In the back. All right, there we go. So, I mean, we're gonna look at it here. We've already seen the stats, but I'm gonna use it as a reference here. So, I mean, the difference in this game is that when you look at no, put my face up. We're gonna need this here. So, because everyone can see the stats. They've already seen them. The Pacers, they had another all-around game by everybody. I mean, everybody scores in double figures in this. But you know who the one important player who didn't score in double figures is? Yes, Vince, you already guessed it, man. How'd you know? You're so smart. It's Obi Toppin, man. Or as I should say, Obi Lowen tonight, because he only scored 3 points. That was the difference for you right there. If I don't say so myself, I think I remember he scored 20 last game. That's a 17-point difference. That's the ball game for you right there. That's a 2-point win. That's another one of those game ones that you would have seen.
No.
So,
We're not disrespecting him. He had 17, not 20. That's a plus 14 difference. How much did OKC win?
15.
By plus 16. They were won by 16 on this one.
No, it's 15.
Well, okay. My point is they won by 16 in this one.
Exactly. Okay, so either way, though, the thing is that right there was pretty much the game and why it was so lopsided to me. Because, dude, I don't understand. Is the Pacers are they just so nice that they're like, hey, bro, I don't need 30. I don't need 40. I'm not this guy, SGA. You have the ball. You score some tonight. Here, man. You didn't get any points? Here you go, because this Pacers team confuses me. Who's the leader, man? Who's the leader? I mean, we get it. We know the Miles Turner, Halliburton, Siakam.
This is
We
for the
know that-
viewers so they can see. Go ahead.
Yeah, to me, it's just like somebody needs to be taking more shots from the Pacers. Whoever's hot that night needs to be taking more shots because this whole all-around game just doesn't. Obviously, it leads you to the finals. But another thing is with the Thunder, I don't know, and this is me being honest. I mean, I love me some Alex Caruso. I really do. But he's not giving you 20 every night. You can't bet on Caruso giving you 20 every night. And thankfully, Chet actually scored more points than letters in his name tonight. So, I mean, he did the other night, too. I know I'm giving him credit. He scored 6, and he has 4 letters in his name. I get it. But he had 15 tonight. He showed up a little bit for you, I just don't think you can bet on Aaron Wiggins scoring 18. Would you have guessed that Aaron Wiggins would have scored more points than Chet tonight? That's not a recipe for success, to be honest. So, I mean, to me, that's one of those things where it's like game 2 was almost like kind of lucky for the Thunder, if anything. I don't know, man. But I'll let you take it on from here.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. But one thing I will say real quick, Russ, is sometimes you need a little bit of luck to win. And one of the key factors for the Thunder to win this game specifically was the 3-point shooting efficiency. In game one, easily they had a cold stretch, especially late in the game. Players like Isaiah Joe, Lou Dort, Cason Wallace, they all needed to knock down open looks and they didn't do it. Spacing on the floor properly would have helped unlock more drives for SGA, as well as Williams. And that's exactly what we saw. As you can see from, I mean, it's not really much to say from three, but it's the Alex Caruso and the Aaron Wiggins. They didn't get the, production from Isaiah Joe, or for even really Lou Dort in this one
No.
at all.
Yeah, no, they didn't.
But what they missed from Cason Wallace, Lou Dort, and Isaiah Joe, they made up tenfold with Aaron Wiggins, Alex Caruso. And that is really the formula, because this team, we talk about the depth. And this is the part of the Thunder that is kind of like the Pacers need to adjust to. You can allow SGA to score, do whatever you want, but big key factor, he had 8 assists in this game. I think in game one, he had like 3. And each time, even the ones that there were lots of good looks that he produced that just didn't go in. So arguably there were points on the table that the Thunder could have made, but just didn't capitalize on it. And they just had multiple second effort opportunities that their players went after over the Pacers. They won those battles. I just felt like from start to finish, OKC did exactly what they needed in order to get the results they got. And, like I said, rarely like what you said, Chet Holmgren, it wasn't just the fact that he was scoring, but it was how he was scoring. He wasn't playing like Miles Turner, who seems more like a perimeter big. Chet was at least in the paint for the most part, looking to get sound interior scoring, things of that nature, made his presence a lot better. He's not the most physical person, but we know he's effective around the rim. And so either way, I thought this was a much better game overall for SGA, right? He's MVP in game one. Yes, he had 38 points, but it took him 30 shots, and it just didn't really look fluent. This
wait, you said
34.
You're saying this was a better game from SGA?
Absolutely. He had 34
Hold on a
points,
second. Wait.
21 shots. Go ahead.
The free throws is what gets me, because I'm as much as I want the Thunder to win this series, I still don't like the free throw merchant.
Yes, no, I agree with you. You take those free throws away, he scores what, 23? Yeah, 23 points. But at the end of the day, it is OKC. It is home, right? And so that's why what I said earlier before you had joined, a little bit later, Russ, is I liked game one better from an officiating standpoint, because they allowed both teams to be physical. And I felt like there was a moment randomly in like the second or the third quarter, primarily the third quarter, where you can notice that they were not swallowing their whistle as much. They were not allowing physicality to play as much. And I think it kind of took the Pacers defense away from being as attentive as they had been in game one, because in this particular game, basically, as soon as they started noticing they're not going to allow the physicality that they allowed in game one, or even earlier in this game, that's when they started to retreat, because they were in the plus for free throw attempts. I think they already had like 4 or 5 fouls within the first like 3 or 4 minutes of the third quarter. So they were literally in the bonus all throughout the third quarter, and that right there was ball game. Because even when the Pacers had actually scored more in the third and fourth quarter, they didn't have enough at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. From an officiating standpoint, game one, I think everyone can agree, no matter which side you're on, game one was just a better game. It's just like when you go to a sports game, it doesn't matter what. Like, for example, I'll give you the Lakers versus Celtics game back in January 27th of 2020. I want to say 2020. No, 23. I think, yeah, it was January 27th, 2023. It was like a week before LeBron had broken the all-time scoring record. And we went to the game. The Lakers and the Celtics were playing that night. And if anyone remembers, this was the game where Patrick Beverley brought out the video camera from a fan and had to show it to the ref, and LeBron had his all-time meltdown. I watched that live in person. But my point being to this story is that the Lakers and the Celtics went into overtime. And that was our first NBA game we had ever watched. And it was cool being in person at the TD Garden for that game. Even though my team lost in overtime, it was still fun and an atmosphere to be in because the game was so close. But when you got games that are just like one-sided, lopsided, people pay, as much as you watch it on TV and you're like, well, thank God I didn't pay for that, but like people are actually out there paying a lot of money to go see games like that. So it's like, thank God at least it's the home team seeing their team win like that. It's never fun when you're the home team getting blown away. And so it's just my point
Hey,
being
real quick, I want you to answer this question. Based off what you saw, how did the Thunder win? How did the Pacers lose? Let's hear your full take on that.
how did the Thunder win? I mean, the Thunder won exactly how I described kind of earlier, just in a roundabout way, is that they used other guys stepped up. That's exactly what we talked about, right? I was like, SGA has to be able to score his points, but also it's the other guys who have to step up. Now, Chet, him scoring 6 points in the first game, now scoring 15. I think he's got the jitters off. He got a little bit more comfortable in this. I mean, you're at home, you should be a little bit more comfortable. We'll see how it goes on the road, but you had Alex Caruso have one of those nights where he scores 20. Now, if this was Alex Caruso in game one, obviously we would have won that game if Alex Caruso scored 20. But if we'd have, then game two, it's like maybe Alex Caruso doesn't score as many points. So then it just goes into the whole ebbs and flow up and down of the, bench players. I mean, the Pacers just kind of felt like they got comfortable. Where they're like, I feel like they kind of just didn't have that juice that they had in the second half like they did from game one. And I think that's because they had already had that mentality. This is their first finals, so it's like they don't know what to expect. But they had that mentality of, okay, we've already won game one. I'm cool with writing this one out and seeing how it goes. And obviously it didn't go their way. They lost by 15. But to me, it just seemed like the Pacers are kind of cruising. They're just waiting to go home. And the Thunder, they, like I told you in the audience from the last video, is that the Thunder knew that they should have won game one, but they blew it by historical proportions here. And so the Thunder ended up stepping down on that gas pedal and was like, okay, we got to lock in. We got to have everybody on the same page. We can't be doing all this. We got to actually score off of turnovers. Because, I mean, with all those turnovers they had against the Pacers in game one, which is what, 24? I don't understand how the Pacers won a game with 24 turnovers. It's because you didn't make baskets off of those turnovers. So it's going to be interesting to see how this next game goes, because it's like you kind of get the whole balance of like, okay, well, these players played well in this game. The other team's players didn't play well in this game. Game two, it kind of like flip-flopped. And now we're going to kind of see how game three goes. I think game three is kind of really exciting because you're kind of see like, okay, now who's the which game was the more real one that you watched? It's really exciting. And like you said, game one, 70% of the teams who win end up going on to win the finals. Game three is also a very pivotal game because I should look up the stat here so I don't leave you guys hanging here. But
I know what you're going with.
Winners of game three.
Like, what's the percentage of the team that wins game three to go on to win the finals? I already know what you're on, man. Before you do, I gotta just say this, man. I got to. While you're looking this,
Yeah, go for it.
Pacers defense elapsed, man, in game two compared to game one. Trash! Absolutely trash! Okay? Look, at the end of the day, you win some, you lose some, but it's how you lose that just, can be the frustrating part. And I'm going to get into something that was really frustrating for me to watch. That is a story that I'm sure we're all going to hear about tomorrow on all other sports platforms, especially ESPN and all that stuff. But as a team overall, man, defensively, I just thought they there were certain moments, man, where SGA was getting screened, and it's just like, here you go. Just go inside. Just do what you want. You want to lay up? Let's get a layup. You want to tween and then pass it out. Go ahead, get a free shot. So many open looks, so many open threes, so many open layups. I'm just sitting here like, bro, are you gonna guard? Are you gonna make an adjustment and stop this? Because that's the biggest difference. Yes, they were more physical in game 1 than game 2, but I'm just talking the fundamentals. Close the gaps in these screens. I know Hardenstein is a great screener. There's no excuse for Chet. There's no excuse for Williams. There's no excuse for any of the other players. And there were a lot of times when there were just basic slip screens that were happening, and they just gave them the runway to make whatever decisions SGA wanted to have. And that's how we had a much more efficient game, as well as a much more impactful game with dishing to his other teammates, which really is the reason why OKC won. It's not just because SGA had 34 points more efficient shooting. It's literally because of the others, because he was actually able to get others involved with his penetration from that screen and then literally get so many wide open shots complemented with the multiple extra effort offensive rebounds that they gave up. So I just had to mention that real quick. But
yeah, Vince, I gotta ask. Okay, audience, and if you guys don't know, me and Vince have known each other for I think it's our 10-year anniversary now, roughly. But time flies. But I want everyone to know in this audience, I've known him 10 years, and I've never heard, or maybe not as much or as often, very very rarely, maybe like second time ever. I've never heard you say that. That is so funny. The way you were doing that. That's too funny, bro. You're too funny.
yeah.
This
And
man.
then no, go ahead. Go ahead. Because I'm gonna really get into this next topic, this last topic. Before we
No,
get this
you go hard on your team, man.
bro.
This is funny to
No,
watch. I'm here for it.
It's the picks, because they're not my team. You know who my team is. Always die hard. But it's my picks because they make me look stupid. Like, even if I come up with a solid game plan, okay, this is what you need to do to get the win. Executing it's a different story. And this is where sometimes you see the lack of maturity in certain teams or certain players in certain moments in order to get the moment. And one of those players that I'm going to be grilling on right now, I love to praise my guy, Tyrese, what the hell, Halliburton. But this was not it, man. And you know what? Outside of that game winner in game 1, it's not been it for you either. Now, if we're going to call you a superstar, like I have wanted to call you, because you've had superstar moments all postseason. I love the mentality, the dog mentality that you have. I love the leadership that you have. You're still young. You're 25. You're not even close to your prime. I get it. But at the same time, bro, can you be a little more consistent? Like, please, because I'm to the point now.
Wait, what do you mean? You're to the point?
Let me lean back for this one, okay? I'm to the point now where I'm getting very, very frustrated by this man, Tyrese Halliburton. You had 17 points. 12 of those 17 points came what quarter? The fourth. We get that you're really the real Mr. Clutch. No shots to Mr. Jalen Brunson. You won it deservingly, but postseason play, not the same. Tyrese has been on like a historic run. But what about the other 1 to 3 quarters? You had 5 points by the time the fourth quarter even started. You were a turnover machine with 5 turnovers. What happened to the Tyrese Halliburton that had a 30-15-10 game with 0 turnovers? See, that's the problem. That's the reason why it's hard for me to fully go all the way in with the Pacers, even though I'm always going to stick with my pick. Pacers in 6, no more than 7. But you make it hard for me because of the fact that you're so inconsistent. I love that when I look at the box score, I'm seeing a lot of balanced shooting. But damn it, Tyrese, if you're the leader, if you're the killer, because we've seen this man have like 2 different alter egos. He's had the alter ego, which we're seeing right now, where he's very passive, and then out of nowhere, he just kind of maybe shows up. I don't know. But then we also see the Tyrese in the fourth quarter in the clutch when it matters the most, or even throughout the game, where he is a killer, taking up shots, creating, dishing out, creating great shot attempts for his other teammates, the whole thing, and he's the star. Like, you can't be one or the other, Tyrese. You got to be one. Whatever one you are, commit to it, bro. You got to get the moment, because if you don't act the way that we know you're capable of, that you've shown us, that your Instagram posts have you as, if you don't become that player on a consistent basis, you're not going home with a championship. And with all due respect, because I've never been to Indiana, but I do know a lot about Indiana as far as it being a basketball city and a town. They deserve a championship just as much as anyone, including OKC. Y'all have not had a real chance to win a finals in a long time. Oklahoma had a real chance to win it a decade ago.
Yeah, a quarter century is how long it's been since they had a chance.
Exactly. So at this point, Tyrese, bro, show up. Show up and show out. Or else at this point, man, we're not playing that what the hell is song anymore for the rest of the summer.
All right, I gotta ask you a question, Vince. Do you think? Hold
on. Before you do, we gotta acknowledge the people that do leave comments here. My guy here, Garrett, he's just not that player. I'm gonna say this real quick, and then I want you to keep your thought. He has the capability and the potential to be the player. He just isn't consistent enough to be the player. And in my opinion, we're going to know a lot about Tyrese, not just for the future, but for the near future, on if he can really be what he's trying to perceive the rest of us for him to be, which is this killer. Because I've seen him really kind of talk about it lately, right? When they win, his swagger's up, his confidence up. He talks pretty cocky. I like that. But at the same time, man, you got to play that way every game. That's the difference between a star in the regular season and a superstar when it matters the most. So you might be right, you might be wrong. We're going to find out a lot, and Game 3 is so important. Whoever wins that Game 3, a lot of the times, like Russ was alluding to,
70 to 75% of the time.
There you go. We thought that whoever won Game 1 was important. Oh, no. Who wins Game 3 is very important, because it's not only important for both teams. This is a road game for the number 1 seeded OKC Thunder. This is a home game for the underdog Pacers, right? They won Game 1 to literally get home court advantage. Arguably, like Russ said, they just kind of was sleepwalking for Game 2. I don't know why you would do that, but they kind of looked like that from the start and then try to turn it up in the second half. So we're going to learn a lot here soon about what kind of player Tyrese Haliburton is or what kind of player he's not. And let's just hope, if you're a Pacer fan or if you've picked the Pacers to win this series, that he shows up and shows out. Go ahead and say what you got to say, Russ.
Okay. Hey, Vince, how many points did Tyrese score in Game 1?
I'll
answer that for you. 14.
Okay.
Let's
make sure you fact check that.
I did.
Go ahead.
I did fact check it, but
no, for the viewers. Yep. 14.
Yeah,
there you go.
Sure. Okay. Did anybody crucify Tyrese Haliburton for his Game 1 performance? I'll answer that question for you too. No, they didn't.
Besides us, because I know I did.
Yeah, but I'm like, but the thing is like, ain't nobody was mad at Tyrese. Ain't nobody was mad at Tyrese for Game 1 performance. Why? Because of that last shot, right? Or else they would have been critiquing him. But the only reason Tyrese Haliburton, yeah, sure, he did what he did in the last shot of the Game 1 of the finals. But like, because the other players got him to that spot. Not like they're the reason why, but like it was a thing of the whole team together, collectively getting there together. This is exactly my point I was telling you about, is that I've never seen such a balanced team where they're scoring this many points in double figures, this many players. It's weird. It's awesome, but how often, if your guy can't consistently put up more points when he needs to, because you're telling me Tyrese, he just woke up in the fourth quarter and was like, okay, I'll score 12. Well, dude, what happened to the first 3 quarters, like you were saying? But bro, tell me this. I told you that if Tyrese Haliburton ends up later having a different team, people are going to switch around. These moving parts are going to switch around. It's just natural for a winning team in the championship who win the ring, who lose in the first round of the playoffs, who don't make the playoffs. They're going to tool and change their roster, right? You can't expect you're going to tool. If everybody over here is scoring double figures, from game 2 over here, it's like you're going to change some of those people around, and it's like you can't expect the new people that you found to also score in double figures because you're such a well-balanced team. It's Tyrese Halliburton looks good because the team is well balanced. But like when, for example, your other players don't play up to his par, Tyrese is gonna get is gonna get a lot of flack and insult for his box score because that's what people are gonna look at. I mean, yes, by the eye test, you could tell that it wasn't his game as well, but with 5 points in the beginning of the fourth quarter. But that's my point is that because of his non-traditional point guard role and the way he plays the game, it's always gonna be about what the other players do on his team that are gonna whether it's going to be the way you look at Tyrese and how well he played in this game. Because, dude, he scored 3 more points than he did in the last game. But yet, I feel like there's going to be more people criticizing Tyrese in this game than they did last game, even though he technically had a better box score by points, So it's like, to me, it's weird. But I get your point about the whole 5 points to the fourth quarter. But I don't know how many he did in game 1. But obviously with 14, he obviously didn't have that many more. So,
yeah,
I mean, it's just...
That's a very valid point, Russ. And you know what? I have to maybe look at our own past video when they did win because of that game winner from him. But that right there is the difference, right? Like you said, the players, his teammates really put him in a position to be able to succeed. And as we can see in this box score, those same players that helped put him in that position, in some ways they failed him. Andrew Nembhard arguably should have got more shot attempts. He was 4 for 8. He was efficient, but he only had 11 points. Their leading scorer, Pascal Siakam, he only had 15 points off a very piss poor 3 of 11 shooting. You can't win that way. And then, I mean, Aaron Nesmith actually did show up and do as best as he can, but look at the defensive stats. No steals, no blocks. He's their best defender out there on the wing outside of Nembhard. And so you got this exactly like what you said, bro. Basically, the players that put him in a position to be able to have that game winner against the Thunder, they didn't really show up. And when you get that level of inconsistency from your others, you're going to get these types of showings. What I am hoping from Halliburton in this case is you don't have to rely so much or wait so long for the others to figure it out in order for you to just take it over. We know you got the bag, bro, or at least we thought you did. Okay, so my point is, if you see that your other teammates, especially Pascal, who is the leading scorer on this team, is not having those kind of nights, because it happens, you need to then elevate your game to a different level and be more aggressive. We don't see any issue with aggressiveness when we talk about SGA, when we talk about Donovan Mitchell, when we talk about Giannis, when we talk about Jalen Brunson, a lot of the players that he went up against in this playoff run. But for some reason with Tyrese, it's kind of like you don't know where you're going to get. The first shot, if he makes it, chances are after that first shot when he makes it, he's going to be a lot more aggressive. But if he misses that first shot, it's like psychology for some reason to him. He stops shooting as often as you would like. Therefore, he's just not engaged the way that he needs to. And so that's just the main thing that I'm trying to understand here, man, is like, what kind of Tyrese are we getting? Because my pick completely hinges off of Tyrese. If he plays aggressive the way that we've seen him, if he plays aggressive the way that we know he's capable of, and he's consistent, in my opinion, they have a solid chance to win in 6 or 7. But in other words, if he doesn't, then it's easy to see a situation where he's just not going to necessarily do what you want to see him do. And because of that, you're going to get games like this. All I'm asking for is to just show us that next level that we know you're capable of. And that right there can capitalize this historic run that your whole team has gone on.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just this is a very interesting series because, I mean, to be honest, if we're being real here, I don't know if we can really even say the Thunder are that much better than the Pacers. I think the Pacers are the reason them not being who we know that they can be from what they've shown us all year in the playoffs is what, especially in the playoffs. It's the Pacers are going to win if they show up and be who they are. The Pacers are going to lose if they don't play up to the potential that we know that they can play up to. The Thunder, I don't know if they're like it's almost kind of like the same thing for the Thunder. Like if the Thunder can show up and play to what we know they can, I think they're going to win too. I know it just seems like like duh, obviously, like, but some teams it's just like like you don't even think that they could play that way. You're like, no, they're definitely an underdog. But no, it's like I'm starting to see that like, man, this Pacers team you really got to give credit to because I mean, I really don't know at this point what game three really looks like. I'm at a loss for words. It's like, does Alex Caruso score 20? Does Chet go back to 6 points again? Does Miles Turner forget how to grab a rebound and lay it back in the same jump? Like I don't know. I don't know what to tell you here. Does Tyrese go to Michael Jordan mode or does he go to 5 points into the fourth quarter? Like I mean, hey, it just goes to show you that's like it's almost like okay, we're really seeing like the number one offense, the number one defense. Game one, it was almost like a balance of each other, and it was just like okay, well, one's defense was number one, one's was number offense was number one. It's just really confusing to me. I couldn't tell you what game three is going to look like, but it is in Indiana, and it's going to be exciting. I bet the Pacers are looking at this like we got them. We got at least one. They're going home on that flight happy. They won one at OKC in that fashion. They're happy, but they can't be too happy. They can't feel comfortable. They better go on that plane, not feeling like down in the dumps, but they got to go in knowing like okay, we just got belt to I'm not gonna say it here anymore. I gotta keep my nice guy look on here, but
I'm
it's
dead.
I don't
Hey,
even know what to tell you for game three. I really don't.
let's talk about it real quick, you guys. Now, if you're just now joining, of course, leave a comment down below. We'd like to know your answers as far as this question that I'm about to ask Russ here, because it's very important, right? We just talked about the stats. The team that wins game one, they go on to win about 70% of the time. But game three is really where it matters the most. The team that wins at least game three, going up 2-1, often win 70 to 75% of the time. So this is a big game three. With that being said, because of the way that the Thunder handled the Pacers in this game, do you think that the Thunder were able to swing momentum back in their favor after this win, going back on the road to Indiana? Or do you think this is a case where because the Pacers did take game one and they got that home court, and I know that we've heard a lot about OKC's fans, but don't you guys sleep on the Indiana Pacer fans because that whole nap town, they're really about that basketball. So I want to know your thoughts. Of course, if you're watching, leave us a comment down below what you think. Do you think OKC got that momentum? Do you think the Pacers did? But Russ, I want to know your thoughts on that. Who do you think got the momentum in terms of after this game too?
Thunder definitely got to be feeling good about this win, but I mean, I don't know how much you can really feel that bad as a Pacers fan because it's like, you know, I just feel like they just got comfortable. So them feeling comfortable, it the playoffs and the finals, I mean, just basketball in general or any game really, any sport, it's all about adjustments. So for me, it's like game one, you don't really know what to expect. So game two, the Thunder had to adjust to what the Pacers were giving them. Now game three, it's going to be the Pacers adjusting to what the Thunder adjusted to them from game, two. So it's going to be interesting to see. I don't think that the Thunder swung momentum in their favor at all because they lost home court advantage. You can't really feel good about it knowing that if the Pacers win all the games at their home, they're going to win the series. It is what it is. Um, so my bet, if are we picking picks here or no, not yet.
Do you think
I'm gonna say not yet.
do you think OKC took the momentum, or do you think the momentum is still with the Pacers? I think the easy, right now answer is, oh, well, obviously OKC has momentum, but like I said, one could argue that the Pacers, because of the way they treated game two, I mean, I wouldn't say the momentum is completely in OKC's favor because they already lost home court, But obviously, it's not even a doubt if OKC does win game 3. Momentum is all the way for OKC because they got home court right back just like that. But you know what? Let's talk about it at this point. Who you got in terms of game 3? Let's talk about that because I know you, man. You were real brass, man. You just walked into this studio out of nowhere as I was just getting into my points, talking about how OKC was able to win and how they won and how the Pacers lost. If you guys are just now joining, this was about the portion that I think Russ and his fiance saw, and then they decided to join the studio to sit here and gloat like I did in game 1. No, it is what it is. I'll let you have your moment, but let's see how well your pick integrity is because I know you said you got OKC in what? Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
So in that case, who you taking?
So, I mean, the easy answer here, Vince, is I got game 3. I got the Pacers.
Whoa! What? Whoa! Okay, I was not expecting that. I was not okay. I need to know why for this one. Hold up now. I need to know why. I was not expecting that. Let me hear your reason, bro. That's crazy. I just gotta say OKC. Why you think Pacers take game 3?
Because like I said, is that you can't bet on Alex Caruso having 20 points again, and we're going back to We're going to Indiana, so this is going to be the Pacers' home. This is how I see it shaping up. I see Indiana winning game 3, so that puts them up 2-1, and then once again, the Thunder, they don't lose 2 in a row. Thunder win game 4 and game 5. After they get acclimated in Indiana, they're gonna sweep the floor game 4. Game 5, they're gonna come back home with the momentum on their back, and they're gonna win game 5. I don't know about game 6, but I mean, I imagine I would say Thunder, but they're going too far ahead of myself. But game 3, it's just going to be the Thunder are not going to be. They're going to be a little shell shocked being away from OKC at first, and that is going to be a problem for them. And so the Pacers are going to feel real hot because they know they tied the series at 1-1. They know that they can win the game. They're going to make those adjustments, and I think a lot of what happened today was that the Thunder really double teamed Tyrese Halliburton and got the ball out of his hands as much as they could. I got Indiana, the Pacers game 3. I mean, that's what I got.
Wow. I was not expecting that. I'll be honest with you, man. I was not. I mean, I understand your reasoning too.
Well, hey, how do you win in 6 games? You got to lose 2.
This is true. So your theory is Pacers win game 3, but that is the last time they win a game for the rest of the series. That's what I'm hearing right now.
You're a smart man, Vince.
Wow. Okay. All right.
You're a smart man.
I was definitely not expecting that. Man. Well, one thing I will definitely say, we're going to do a video on what it's going to take for the Pacers to win game 3, separate from this live, as well as what it'll take for the Thunder to win game 3. But as far as my just off the top pick, I know I went really hard on with the Pacers for game 2, and I was clearly let down. I actually do think that the Thunder are going to take game 3. Yeah, I think that this game was exactly how game 1 went, with the exception that they executed better in the fourth quarter. And so because of that, I do wonder if OKC has unlocked that next level as a team to get to a point where, especially, it's the first game back home for Indiana. You know, they just lost, and you have to imagine Rick Carlisle is going to have some very sound adjustments for this team to really consider and think about doing in game 3. But if I'm just talking about like the right now feeling, I feel more leaning towards OKC getting game 3. Will I finish that take as far as before the game starts? I don't know. I'm gonna have to look and see what it's gonna take for the Pacers to win as well as for the Thunder to win. And after assessing what it's going to take, I will be able to finish my complete pick. But for right now, I just feel like OKC, they are, yes, I see that face for us. I just feel like OKC, they're playing at the level that they need to play and all cylinders, not just offensively, but defensively, as well as the bench showing up the way that a lot of people predicted their bench would play. Isaiah Joe, keep in mind, hasn't even really had his run yet. This was an Aaron Wiggins and Alex Caruso game. For all we know, game 3 could be Aaron Wiggins and Hardenstein or Hardenstein, you know? So especially if they're gonna continue to put Hardenstein off the bench as like the sixth man for right now, who knows? That could be their game on the road. And so I would not be surprised if OKC were to go in at least for a game 1. Game 3, you know, but game 1 in Indiana. Yeah, that's my pick for right now.
Vince, if the
Yes.
Thunder win game 2, you do realize that the Pacers to win the series would have to beat the Thunder 2
3
times
out
in
of
a
4
row.
times. No, they'd have to win 3 out of the next 4 times.
Yeah, which would mean that the Thunder would have to lose a back-to-back.
I know.
That's never happened. You know how much.
I understand what you're trying to say, Russ, but this is a historic
That's
run.
tough.
Hold on. This is a historic run by the Pacers. I know my voice probably just cracked there. I'm lacking water. This is a historic run by the Pacers. A game winner in every single series of the postseason. If the Pacers are going to truly capitalize on this Cinderella run that they've been on from start to finish, they're going to have to do something that has not been done before. That includes beating the Pacers at least
Beating the
2
Thunder.
times in a row.
Beating the Thunder.
Or yes, sorry. See, that's how much I want the Pacers to win. But yes, in order for the Pacers to win the series, they're going to need to beat the Thunder at least 2 times in a
We're
row.
gonna have to do something that nobody has done all
season
year.
long. Yep.
Which I don't even know if that's happened last year, but I'm sure maybe last year. But yeah, I mean, hey, that is historical. I mean, hey, if that's the case, man, I would. You already know I'd love it.
I mean, look, it's gonna have to take a Herculean effort for the Pacers already as the underdog to win this series. So I'm just thinking if the Pacers have it in them like they have all postseason, this is the time. This is the series to do something that hasn't been done. And that right there would, in my opinion, be perhaps one of the top 2, top 3 best runs towards a title any team has had in NBA history.
That would be good for the league.
It would be great for the league, which is exactly why they want more parity. They don't want
because it's scripted, right? No.
Hey, I know one thing that might be scripted. That's that NBA draft. And if you guys haven't tuned in to that episode, you might want to go watch that one. It is down below to our homepage. Check that one out. But hey, either way, you guys, man, it's been real fun talking to you guys. I was not expecting Russ to be in here, but it's always fun to have my boy in the studio, especially when we're live after watching the game. And I mean, look, it is what it is. I'm not going to be right every time, but sometimes I'm wrong. And so I will leave the stream on a nice little high note for you and your fiance. You guys can have a little laugh. I'm sure I'll get a call or a text from you guys or whatever. You were right. I was wrong. Outside of that, you guys, man, it's always great to tune in with you guys. And last things first, of course, if you're not already subscribed, because YouTube does tell us how many are subscribed or not, about 70 to 75% of you are not subscribed. If you are not, please hit that subscribe button. Keep up with all of our videos and our lives coming up in the future. We are going to be also around in the off season. I do live out here in Vegas, so if you guys ever wonder what's going on in the summer league, I will be tuning into that as well. And of course, if you do enjoy our content, hit a like, share with your friends. But as always, y'all stay safe and salute.
That's a wrap for today's episode of the Russ and Vince Courtside Podcast, where we bring you the hottest NBA moments, discussions, and everything in between. If you like today's show, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on those notifications so you never miss a Courtside Podcast again.